What's going on, everybody? David Mitchell here, and my wife is photobombing. We're getting in, and welcome to another episode of not North American Rail Fan, but Fans of Train, episode 3. And we are here again with Chicago Rail Fan. You want to say anything?
Hello, and welcome to Soviet Russia, where trains radiate you.
Oh my god. That's a good way to start out tonight live stream. Okay, we are talking about the future of rail in the country because no one else is going to talk about unless Dimitri from the American Rail Club. It's either going to be me or him, so sorry, Demo, I got to it first, man. Might talk to you when you do your next live stream, but yeah. Like, I brought it up in Dimitri's live stream about a while back how everything is going to get worse before it get better, and that with a rail system and everything. You remember when I said that's a Chicago Rail Fan?
No.
Oh, that right. You were not watching that live stream when I brought it up. Okay, long story short, I did talk about how we are actually going to probably lose a lot more class 1s, and our railroad are probably going to deteriorate even more before it starts getting better. I did prod that up. So we are going to be going through a little bit of a rough path when it comes to a rail system, but I do see if someone do come in and like what Brightline is doing, like we do have a small chance of avoiding it if Brightline keep doing what they're doing. So if Brightline down to 4 to keep doing what they're doing, that might be a good sign. But I do see if we make it through, I do see some good stuff coming out of it. Like Amtrak upgrading their fleet. Speaking of that, Chicago Rail Fan, you want to read the article that I'm going to send you? Because it's up in that you might get interested in because it's in your area. 1 minute. Hey, Chicago Rail Fan, you still there?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to read the article.
Well, this one
I
might.
don't have it on me.
Well, I have not sent it to you yet, but I'm about to. I'm going to give Chicago Rail Fan this one because it's up in that. It's going to excite you, man. You hear me?
Hold on, David. Before we do that, can we just move to the general section in the Bandit Trains Discord, just real quick?
Oh, the abandoned trains.
No, like that voice chat you set up on the Fans of Trains Discord.
Oh yeah, we can. Yeah, let's go over there.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
All right, let's move it over to the Fan of Train Discord. 1 minute. Oh no. I guess someone is going to try to join in. All right, you here? All right, there we go. Oh, not that one, wrong one.
David, you're showing yourself to be a little incompetent.
Sorry, man. I thought I copied the link down. I sent the wrong link. My bad. Shit happens sometimes.
Oops.
And Val did drop her phone.
Sorry.
But when I send the link to you because it's about Metra in your area, you might get a little excited, man. Because it's something that involves your area. All right, here. All right, do you got the link?
Yes.
Now, do you see what it's talking about?
Oh yeah, we get to see these awful, bad-looking little bi-level coaches.
You think that awful?
Look at this. It looks awful. Look at this. They have the windows at the bottom. How am I supposed to see down there? They should be in the top. This is bad planning.
But I'm
I
not
disapprove.
I'm not gonna lie. It's going to look interesting now that Wobtec is building passenger cars for Metra, or technically will be with the deal that they made. You know?
No, I want my old-style bi-level gallery cars from Pullman. CNW supremacy.
Well, I hate to break your button, man, or I hate to bust your bubble. If that Pullman is no longer around, rest in peace. You know?
Not if I had something to do with it.
But yeah. So my wife curling iron. Put that back right there. But yeah.
You should check the general chat on the Discord server.
Alright, I will. Oh yeah. Not Johnny Mike. I'm just calling you out, Johnny Mike. Mike, you're just a butthead. Like,
Butthead. Are you a butthead? David is so funny. Whatever, David.
I just said something to my wife.
You look cute,
But yeah, like.
Okay, this little article is too short, so I don't know what this says.
But it talked about Metra, you know?
Okay, but it doesn't talk about anything cool like extended lines or new rail lines or just something interesting. This is just new rolling stock.
Well, I do see stuff happening. Like, heck, they are doing a new Amtrak route from Savannah, Georgia to Atlanta. So that's going to be interesting, and probably having a train coming from Charleston down to Savannah and up to Atlanta. So yeah. I mean, that would have been, if they had something like that back then. Like, that would have been easy for my wife to come by Amtrak instead of plane, you know? But when an Amtrak new routes, it's going to be going through from Atlanta to Savannah. So that's going to be interesting. Also brings it up the old Fort Loop, it being used again. They have not rail banked it. Two local trains that NS is running up the old Fort Loop to Asheville, North Carolina. And they're about to get a whole bunch more passenger trains on that line because Amtrak actually planning to run a passenger train from, let's just say, Charlotte to Asheville. So that's going to be some prime real estate right there. So the rate that passenger rail is starting to slowly grow back here in the U.S., I do see a positive future for passenger rail, but it's going to be a hard one. Because a lot of people are going to be working to get it. Like, it's not going to be overnight. The truth is, it's going to take years. And it probably won't be done until probably after Biden is out of office that it all set up. But
And what makes you think it? And what makes you think that Biden has to be out of office for this?
Because he is a big supporter in passenger rail or Amtrak. I'm not a fan of Biden, and I'm not a fan of Trump. I'm not a fan of both of them. Like Dimitri.
You know who I'm a fan of?
These nuts. Oh, I got you right there, Chicago Rail fan. I got it right there, man.
You know what happens when you get too...
Get a little too sus? Yeah, I know what happened when you get a little too sus. Get a little too meta. You know? But yeah.
I guess I cannot hear you.
Oh, I can hear you. You know? Oh, let me put the boom mic a little down. There we go. But yeah. Oh, Chicago Rail fan. Anything interesting happened in Chicago? Like with your...
Not really.
Did the usable... Oh, get what? You know the Music City in Tennessee?
Yes, I think we all saw the High Iron video that came out like a couple days ago.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, but that we a good sign, meaning that mean the Music City is officially not the work commuter rail system in the U.S. anymore. That right there is a good sign, if you did think about it.
I see.
Because I do see a good sign. Oh, and look who else joined in too.
He didn't just join,
Alright,
he just
no, that's
disconnected
better.
and reconnected.
That's better.
Oh.
I can hear you now.
But we do need more commuter rail system in the U.S. between like big and small. Like literally, like here in Charleston, we should be able to do something like they are doing with Smart in California. We should be able to do something like that here in Charleston. Myrtle Beach could be able to do something like that down there for them. And vice versa.
I kind of get Charleston, but why Myrtle Beach?
Well, Myrtle Beach used to have a rail system. It still do a little bit, but it only for freight, and it owned by R.J. Corman. Like R.J. Corman, if they look at Smart in California, they might be able to take a note out of Smart book and rebuild that track into Myrtle Beach, right there toward the train depot, and like rebuild everything and have it all go out far enough where it can connect to the community outward. Also, they can split it off where it can head to the airport for people can get off the plane, onto the train, and right into downtown Myrtle Beach. Because where the train station is, it's now to a park, or not a park, but a historic building. Right where that building is right smack dead in the middle of downtown Myrtle Beach. That prime real estate right there. And it got me.
I find interesting about Myrtle Beach,
Well, Myrtle Beach is one of our big cities. Like, heck, they got freaking skyscrapers in Myrtle Beach.
I guess it's for tourism.
But my question is, Myrtle Beach I know is a tourist destination, but that makes me wonder how much traffic going in and out of Myrtle Beach is commuter and how much is tourist, because these are commuter railroads.
Well, the commuter railroad can also transfer tourists too. Like, there's something like that in our places too, you know? Like in California with Brightline, with their plan.
Yeah, but
Florida.
the thing is, Brightline West, it runs between Victorville and Las Vegas, and we'll probably have expansions of Rancho Cucamonga and Los Angeles. And while, yes, you can have commuter rail service on these types of corridors, that's not their intended purpose. They're inner cities trains. Smart in California is a commuter train.
Well, also, when I went up to, not California, but up to Myrtle Beach back in 2019, and I'll be on, good God, traffic was bad there. I hate to say it worse than Charleston traffic. Like, literally, traffic in Myrtle Beach is 10 times worse than it is here in Charleston. And not even on the weekends. And that's where I came in thinking, because they do need a commuter rail system or like a passenger rail system that could work out. Because they got the sustainability for it. Like,
Okay.
heck, they're big enough to have it. Like, and I'll be honest, I don't know how in the hell that their traffic is worse when they don't even have an interstate that head to their city, you know?
Because there are a bunch of tourists coming to Myrtle Beach and they are using cars to get around within the downtown core. That's my guess.
Yeah, I know that, but there are a lot of downfalls with Myrtle Beach that make it a traffic nightmare, you know?
Yeah, but I don't understand how commuter rail is going to fix that.
Because you can't keep on building interstates, you know, because they are a failure.
But we aren't. But wait, I thought there were no interstates to Myrtle Beach.
They're not.
Yeah, the last time I went to, there's none. We had to take a highway through.
Well,
I'm looking at.
Well, they are building an interstate to Myrtle Beach. They're actually planning to start building in 2022.
Actually, that's interesting. I gotta look that up.
For
Myrtle
years,
Beach.
they've been talking about this, but my point is, I would just scrap it and go with a commuter rail system and probably have Amtrak service head there, you know? Because a lot of these people who live along the area where they have that interstate plan are going to lose their farmland and their land.
Okay, I'm not sure if that's entirely farmland in that area. Some of it's forested. I know I went through Myrtle Beach via Conway, and it was just all forest.
I'm talking about past Conway. Like, as you go inland more, there's more farmland.
I'm
Like,
still trying to figure out this highway project.
what? I can't remember what the interstate is called that are going to be built there, but I know. Let me look it up.
All right, I found an article from
Interstate
News
plan
13
to Myrtle Beach.
that says Senator Graham pushes for $12 million to help build new highway to Myrtle Beach. Senator Lindsey Graham is pushing for federal funding to help contract a new interstate in South Carolina connecting I-95 to Myrtle Beach.
The interstate is called
I. Requesting $12 million to retreat a project that has been delayed for decades. I believe it is a critical infrastructure project to the grandstand and state of South Carolina as a whole, Graham said in a statement provided to AP, describing a beach resort area at the heart of the state's multi-billion-dollar tourism industry.
The interstate is called I-73.
I-73.
That's the project name.
Okay.
hmm
South Carolina
And
I-73.
it not been
Never
built.
heard of this project before, so this is interesting.
Well, it's a project that's been delayed for years, and they've been talking about it. And my thing is that we need to start thinking about our infrastructure that is not evolving around interstates, because we've been doing that since the 60s and between the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you know?
Yeah.
Wait, David, do you
I'm
know
aware.
where do you know if there's a train station at Myrtle Beach or where there was one?
Yeah, there was, and it was right smack dead in the middle of Myrtle Beach.
Okay. I think here it is, Myrtle Beach Train Depot. It is located, I don't know what highway this is. It's located at the
9th
junction
Avenue
of
and
Broadway
Broadway?
Street and North Grove Street. Yep, that's where it is, 9th Avenue and Broadway. That's exactly where it is.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah, see it on Google Earth.
that's the middle of Myrtle Beach right there, you know?
Yeah. And it looks like
Looks
it's
a
the
little
only
empty around the area.
railroad remaining in Myrtle Beach.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm looking at this railroad alignment that parallels US Highway 501, and I notice a problem, especially probably the biggest one is that you've mentioned that you've wanted to connect Myrtle Beach International Airport to downtown via rail.
It
However,
was at one
the line
point.
doesn't go anywhere near rail. The rail doesn't go anywhere near the interstate. And
Here's
even
the
more
funny thing.
noticing-
Back all the way up until 1963, there was a train track after we split off and went around where that Butterfly Loop intersection is. There was a track that we looped around it and head to the airport, to the military base that used to been there, where they used to bring fuel in.
Okay.
And that thing is long gone. You can't even tell there now.
Right, I probably can't. But that kind of also proves my point, because it's going to be much harder to connect the airport now via rail than it would have been in the past. And since the airport terminal is only located 2 miles away from downtown, that makes me wonder if it's even worth a rail connection.
But it is worth a white rail connection if you did think about it, you know? Right?
Light rail?
Yeah. Right rail could work, you know?
Maybe.
Like, heck, they're building white rail a lot up in Columbia, and Myrtle Beach should take notes from that too, you know?
Yeah.
And thing is, if they want to see what Amtrak is doing, they might say, hey, maybe we can rebuild the train depot to like 4 Amtrak trains per day coming from Florence, you know, and coming from that other area. I can't remember what it's called again. And use the R.J. Corman line, like upgrade the track and rebuild the track to Florence, South Carolina, you know?
So would it be like a state-sponsored line, kind of like the Missouri River Runner or the
Yes.
Hoosier State?
Yes, that could work, you know? Because
maybe if it were to go past Florence to Columbia.
Yeah, because there is still a little bit of track bed left that they can actually rebuild. So people who want to come from Columbia headed down, who want to go down to vacating on the beach, they could take a train from Columbia down to the beach, you know?
Yeah.
That could...
My question is, how many people from going to Myrtle Beach are living in Columbia and Florence? Because it seems like this rail line is only going to serve people that live in Columbia and Florence, along with some other intermediate stops along the way. However, this is going to be completely irrelevant to the many vacationers that are going to be flying into Myrtle Beach from all over the world and the country. Like, if I were to go to Myrtle Beach on a vacation from my home state of Minnesota, this line, whether it exists or not, isn't going to mean anything to me.
I know, but well, it won't be for the people who are flying in from our state. It'll be the people who live in the Carolina. Plus, there's another area that Amtrak is planning to build to another town that used to get passenger rail in North Carolina that it can connect to too. Like, I've been looking it up. Like, people who live up in the upstate near Columbia and Charlotte and up there in the mountains like Greenville, they don't want to take planes. I talked to some of them and they said that they want rail from Greenville, Charlotte, and crazy enough, Columbia down to Myrtle Beach and Charleston. They don't want to take effing planes. And I could see why. It took my wife, when she was coming to Charleston, South Carolina, she had a crossover flight in Columbia. Not Columbia, but Charlotte. And she missed it twice, and it took 5 hours. 5 freaking hours. In that right, it took you 5 hours because you missed the flight to get on the airplane.
No. Yeah, because I've been changing the destination because I picked the wrong one. So it takes me 5 to 6 hours of waiting.
It took her 5 to 6 hours. Then it took an hour before her plane got here. And I talked to people who live up there too after that happened, and they told me it takes them 2 hours waiting on a plane up in Columbia to get down to Charleston, like to get everything ready. And they said
But
usually,
how long would it take you a rail?
well, because it's a 500-mile distance, like, if you remember what Demo said, or Demetria, he said the weak spot for high-speed rail is 500 miles.
Wait, this is going to be high-speed rail? I thought this was just going to be an Amtrak route.
I'm definitely going to be going to the doctor tomorrow. But I know I'm talking about that other thing too. Like, South Carolina have them city that can be connected by intercity rail too, And look, I looked it up when I was talking to another friend who lived up in Greenville, and he said that he let her take the train to not Columbia, but Charlotte, instead of the plane, because he took the plane once and it took him 6 hours to get in to Charlotte from Greenville. And he took the Amtrak train the other time and it took him 3 hours.
Quick question. Do you mean Greensboro, or am I missing a city called Greenville?
Greenville, South Carolina. That up near the mountain.
Oh, here it is. Okay.
Funny thing is, they're building the high-speed rail from Charlotte to Atlanta in that section. They're actually going to start building in 2023.
Interesting.
So that's going to be interesting, having high-speed rail going through the upper state of South Carolina,
Uh-huh.
But a lot of people in Greenville...
A lot of things were said to get built sooner.
But a lot of people in Greenville are pissed off because guess what?
What?
Because the line do not go through their city. It actually go around Greenville.
Didn't you say this on one of the ARC streams?
Yeah, I brought it up with Demetria about how Greenville is not going to have high-speed rail because they're going to go around it,
Okay.
And instead, it's going to be right there in the middle between Greenville and Spartanburg.
That kind of sounds similar to the situation with Texas Central, where instead of going straight to College Station, they go to Roan's Prairie instead, which is a 30-minute drive away from College Station.
Mm-hmm. I think I know the reason why they're doing that because they're already Amtrak station in Greenville, and they're one in Spartanburg, and
Or
because both cities are quad cities, like inner cities, because they're only about 50 minutes apart.
yeah,
And the airport, like the Greenville International Airport, is smack dead right in the middle of that, right in the middle of both of them,
I see it.
So I think what they're doing is, and I'm not going to lie, but I think that it might be a little sneaky and clever, is that this thing is going to be able to serve both Spartanburg and Greenville,
Yeah, I get where they're going at, but I am a little concerned at the fact that this is going to greatly increase the last mile trip that people will need to get from the station to their final destination.
I know.
In either Greenville or Spartanburg.
Mm-hmm. Well, that I find a little thin because I know it only takes 25 minutes to get to both cities, Because
Yeah.
coming from that airport, it takes 25 minutes to get to both cities. And it lies along the mountain range. The thing that I'm concerned with is that I think what they should have done is put it right there in Greenville,
As opposed to Spartanburg.
Spartanburg is a smaller city than Greenville. Greenville is a lot bigger. Spartanburg is more of a college city,
Yeah, but I mean, college students are the most likely demographic in the United States to use public transit.
True.
So
they're less likely to own a car.
Mm-hmm. And funny thing is that where weak spot is too, Like, they could, do adjacent job in Greenville and Spartanburg, like that, and then head to Charlotte, because a lot of people travel through that area anyway, and they done said between Atlanta and Charlotte, that whole area is going to be having a higher population than New York in the next 50 years,
Actually, that's not too far-fetched if you're talking about the whole corridor.
Yes. They're saying that because that is prime real estate right there for high-speed rail, if you just think about it. Because if that...
It is.
Well, just think about it. That means the upstate of South Carolina is going to have more people than New York in the next 50 years.
Yeah.
And
the city, New York, yes,
but the state, not so much.
And New York's, well...
New York is dying. You guys can agree with me that New York is dying.
No, I can't.
Oh, yeah.
Like, people are moving out of New York City and the state every day.
Yeah, but there are also plenty of people coming into New York City every day.
Mm-hmm.
What?
But it had gotten bad.
I gotta look at the U.S. Census data.
That ain't never accurate, man. Trust me.
Remember when he did this for Chicago?
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
Wait,
but
what do you mean the census data is not accurate?
trust me, it not.
Why?
I talked to Dimitri about it one time, and he said that this thing is not pretty accurate because you have a lot of people who are illegal or don't have papers who don't do it,
Define illegal.
People who are in the country illegally. And also you have people who are so disabled and old, they're unable to do it too,
But here's the thing. Those people still count in the census. You can help. There's a reason why you have the ability to fill out your census form on behalf of other people. It's for people who can't. And when it comes to illegal immigrants, yeah, sure, they're not legal citizens, but they are often counted in the census because when you're looking for areas to direct resources, they still make up an incredibly valuable part of the workforce, and they also contribute to the economy by spending money in the local economy, just like the regular locals and citizens.
Yeah,
So,
you're
in my
right.
opinion, I think they deserve to be counted in the census.
Yeah, you're right. The only reason I said that because with that whole debacle with Donald Trump back when he was president, if you guys remember that.
I know plenty of debacles, so I don't know which one you're talking about.
You remember when they were talking about that one? I did brain fart it. Probably come to me later,
What,
but
the citizenship question?
yes, that right there.
Okay.
But yeah, but let's get on to our rail system. Like, we do need high-speed rail in the country because look at it. China is using 80% of their rail, and we're using only 18%, and they're dunking on it, you know?
Hold on. Elaborate more on that. Like, what do you mean? Like, using for freight, for passengers?
Both.
I don't understand. I don't understand what you mean by using 80% of their rail. Like, historically? Or...
Right now, China is using 80% of their rail to carry passenger and freight.
Okay, but the United States
Sounds
uses
confusing.
quite a
What
bit
do
of its
you mean,
rail
like,
network as well.
Yeah, but look at it. China officially have more rail than the United States now.
Yeah, that is true.
you mean,
They
wait. Do you think? Are you saying that China uses 80% more of their rail than America?
Yes.
I'm not sure what you meant by the whole percentage.
China uses their rail system 80% more than the United States, and we only use 80%, not 80, but 18% of ours. And you see how big their country been growing.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's well, okay, maybe it is partially to do with its rail network, but I always thought that the reason for China's massive economic growth was because of its opening to the world and world markets in the early 80s after abandoning a lot of Mao's previous policies.
Well, they're
And
going
when they were
back
able
to
to open
all
up to other
that, you
markets,
know?
They were able to open up for manufacturing, take advantage of their incredibly cheap labor, which was plentiful in the country. And over time, that allowed the country to grow bigger and bigger.
Well,
It increased the standard of living for many Chinese people, and the largest decline in extreme poverty in the world is directly related to China's opening up of the world.
Well, it also because of that, and also they got a big boot in 2008 when they decided to start building high-speed rail and start connecting their rail system up fully. Like,
That is true.
you remember when in 2008 when Obama talked about when he was president, talking about rebuilding our rail system, and we still have not managed to get there yet, and China have managed to connect almost every part of their country in a decade and had it all running while we are still in shambles, you know?
Yeah, but that's an incredibly complicated topic with all kinds of factors between the U.S. and China. You got to remember that China's rail system is completely owned by the Chinese government, while the U.S. is split between 6 different Class 1 railroads,
Five.
along with a bunch of other short line.
It actually 5 Class 1s. Are you beginning KCS owned by CP now?
Yes, I am factoring CP as a part of KCS. That's why I said 6 instead of 7.
Oh yeah, that right. I forgot that other one. Oof.
Yes. Class 1 railroads include UP, BNSF, CSX, Norfolk Southern, Canadian Pacific, and Canadian National.
Mm-hmm. You know,
But anyway,
but here, Jane, reason why our rail system got screwed, and not because of the class 1, it's because of our government being an idiot back in the 50s and 60s. Dmitri broke it down.
Yeah.
Dmitri broke it down where the government
They're
heavily
partially
regulated
the cause, though. They're not
the
fully
railroads,
cause.
and the government literally regulated the railroad to hell and back, and they took the monies from the railroad and gave it to the airline and highways. That where we got screwed.
He's entirely wrong. I do know that regulations that were put upon the railroads were designed back when the railroads were the only means of getting around in America.
They got worse in the 50s and 60s when
The problem was the regulations didn't change or keep up with the times, while the economy was changing drastically. Back in like the 1920s, your only efficient way around the country was by rail, and this was frequently abused by railroads who had incredibly high fares and would often leverage their power against towns and workers who were either demanding better service or better working conditions. The ICC, when they came around, were regulating the railroads with that mentality in mind. However, when the 50s came around and the markets for airlines and automobiles started to take off, suddenly the railroads had competition, and the ICC didn't budge to change the regulations to factor in this new competition, because they were regulating the railroads as if they were monopolies.
Mm-hmm.
This, of course, eventually led to Penn Central and then its collapse,
and the dismantling of the SCC too, because if you gotta remember, after that, the thing that made to regulate the railroad was dismantled, if you gotta remember.
Yes, I know that the ICC was abolished in the 90s and replaced with the Surface Transportation Board.
Mm-hmm. But if you did...
But it's not as simple as saying regulation exists, it ruined railroad. It's much more complicated than that.
But
that's what the point I was trying to get at.
And I know, but here, Jane, people think the automobile and airlines killed passenger rail system, but that's a complete lie right there.
Well, it still exists, so...
Mm-hmm. Jane, is that, if you think about it, the government did take a lot of money from the rail system back in the 50s and 60s to fund the Interstate Act and the airports and airlines.
I gotta do more research into that, because that's something that I don't know much about.
I can show you demo video on it because he can explain more.
I already saw Demetrius's video on it. I want to learn more than what was featured in that video. That's all the info I have.
Well, there are archived videos and a lot of stuff about it. And like after he said that, when I was still in high school, I watched the video explaining why Patton Rail got screwed over here in the U.S. And when it said it would not because of the airline and highways, I started looking into it, and I started noticing red flags, and I just said, holy shit, our government fucked our rail system up because let not forget the person who signed the Interstate Act with D.I. Eisenhower, with a general back in World War II, if I can remember.
Yes, he was.
And when he was in Germany, when they finally got into Germany right toward the end of the war, they seeing the Autobahn, and I get that would expired him.
Yeah, but actually, here's an interesting thing. The Autobahn still exists in Germany, yet it didn't kill high-speed rail. in Germany.
Exactly.
So I'm wondering how it seems like, and when I look at other countries like Japan, China, France, all these countries have robust high-speed rail systems, but also robust highway systems. So it makes me wonder, it might not be as simple as the highways were built and killed the railroads. I'm wondering if there's more to it.
Well,
I suspect that urban design, which is done at the local level, not federal, by the way, has more of an impact on the railroads than the highways running between cities ever did.
hey, well,
Because
let not forget, like, if you watch the Dmitry video where the guys forced the ECO to tear down a building for a highway.
it wasn't torn down for a highway. It was just simply torn down. And it was the parking lots where Miami Central was built on was the former site of the Florida East Coast Terminal.
Yeah. But if you think about it, the city forced them to do that. Like, they actually said it in the
Not sure about
video.
that.
They said it in the video.
They said it in the video.
Like,
but
because, hey, I hate to say it, if they were that smart now, they would have not said that on video, because that could be used against them in this day and age, you know?
Well, no, it can't, because most of the people in that video mentioned are dead or they're out of the industry.
Mhm.
So you can't really charge a dead person with a crime in court.
I know,
So,
but imagine if they were still alive and they tried that in this modern era.
yeah, except they aren't. That's the problem.
Yeah, and I don't know if the company would be affected by that either.
It's damage has already been done. It's too late. The people who did it got away with it, and now they're dead. Game
True.
over.
But here, Jane, you guys, I will admit, Brightline is making itself known, you know? Like,
Yes.
and a lot of our state are taking note.
Yeah.
Hey.
Of course, Brightline is basically just a railroad company that inherited quite a bit of the Florida East Coast assets to create a passenger rail system.
Mm-hmm. And funny thing is, our states are taking notes. Even South Carolina, Georgia, and North Carolina.
Yeah, they probably are.
Heck,
I
Amtrak.
don't know.
Heck, Amtrak is freaking out because they now got something that could probably be their competition now, you know?
I don't think so, because Amtrak exists to serve these communities that are isolated and have limited access to the automobile or airlines. They do
True.
not exist in direct competition with profitable routes.
I know, but if you did think about it, with their Northeast corridor and some of their inner city lines, they could be paying competition right there, you know?
How exactly?
Because our rail system are out, we thinking about getting back into the passenger service business. Let not forget, Smart is the first freight and passenger railroad in the U.S. that it probably owned since the 1980s, you know?
But here's the thing with the Northeast Corridor. Amtrak has actually done their own back-of-the-notes calculations on how much it would cost to build a completely new Northeast Corridor from Washington, D.C. to Boston, Massachusetts. And their big total cost comes to $151 million US, which is more than which is twice the GDP of Kazakhstan. How is a private company going to get that kind of investment to build a competing Northeast corridor?
Unless the government sets them up with the money pinch.
Mm-hmm.
Probably no way.
It could
It's-
happen. Never say never, you know?
Well, too bad. I say never because you're going to be going up against an incredibly high price tag. You're going to be going up against various communities that will not want to be bulldozed. And you're going to have to deal with the fact that there's already a corridor in use and there is potential for it to be upgraded. If the state government is going to print money to create a better corridor, why not just use that money to upgrade the existing corridor instead of trying to build a completely new one for a different company?
Yeah, you got a good point right there. But let not forget that they can force Amtrak to share the route, you know? Even though it's owned by Amtrak, the government can force them to share it. Our railroads, what they do.
Is
You know?
that really low?
They could. I think they already do with some freight and commuter railroads.
They do.
already.
But, like, heck. Okay. Oh, and being that, it's something I brought up in the beginning of the video. You know, when I was talking about that on Dimitri live stream about the container ship problem in LA port? And reason, and the
I
reason
wasn't there for the past few live streams.
Oh yeah, I brought it up with him on his live stream last week, talking about why we need to use more of a rail system. If you did think about it, there are over 100 container ships out there waiting to get unloaded in LA port, and every one of them carry 10,000 containers. If you time 100 with 10,000, that's over 1 million containers right there.
Okay.
And that where we have a problem is because we need more rails because, one, we are relying too much on trucking, and you see what they're doing in California.
But if it seems like the problem here isn't the lack of rail; it's the lack of infrastructure at the ports.
Mm-hmm.
Because the ships are out there waiting to dock, and they can't do it because the port is at capacity. To me, that sounds like a problem with the port and not enough berths for these ships to dock at, not the lack of rail.
And that where we need to think about building our ports. Like, you guys remember when I brought up Eureka, California, and how we need to rebuild the track? I brought up how we need to rebuild the track in Eureka, California, and rebuild the port there for TIFF, because they can cut down on the waiting time that is going on in the LA port, and we can have ship from there go up to Eureka, California, and get unloaded up there. You know.
Where are these ships coming from? Are they coming from Australia or are they coming from China?
China, Australia, the Philippines, Japan.
Okay, but if that's the case, if they're coming from all over the Pacific Ocean, a port in Eureka isn't going to benefit all of those ships because of how the Earth is curved. While ships from Japan, Korea, and China are going to go along the northern end of the Pacific Ocean by Alaska, since it is the closest, is the shortest line on a globe.
Oh, brother.
They could benefit from a port in Eureka, but not the ships coming from Australia or New Zealand or the Philippines.
Why didn't I think of this? You remember when they talked about building that railroad to Alaska from the lower 48?
Yes.
I did fucking realize it could be Jane that solved that problem right there.
Kind of. sure, connecting the Port of Alaska to the mainland network of Canada would be a benefit for container ships running along the route. However, the problem with the Port of Alaska is that the port is not deep enough for the large container ships that are parking in LA. We would have to upgrade the Port of Alaska in order to
Not that
bigger
port.
container
They're
ships.
not that port. There've been for years they're talking about building a new port in a deeper area of the bay near Fairbanks. There are area in Fairbanks that like if you
Fairbanks?
yeah,
There isn't an ocean for miles.
not an
in
air in an
Fairbanks.
inlet. It's called an inlet. You know what an inlet is?
I'm confused here.
The inlet come in from the ocean, and that area is deep enough for container ships.
Oh, you're talking about the Tana rivers and the Yukon River.
Yes, those chains are deep as hell.
I'd have to look into that, but I'll just assume you're right.
And for years, on the other side of Fairbanks, there are area of land that is big enough to do a container port. And they've been talking about for years building it. I think it right here justified that container port and building the tracks from Alaska down to the lower 48.
But a lot of the boats that are, and a lot of the container ships that are going to be coming into Alaska were never designed to run in rivers. You do realize that river boats are not the same as sea-bearing boats. They're designed very differently.
Well, the Cook I remember what it called out. The Cook Inlet is not a river. It's an inlet that is very big. Like literally.
Cook Inlet and not a river.
They call it the Cook Inlet.
Cook Inlet, okay.
And that ain't the deep point. Like that ain't deep enough for container ships. And they've been proposing a container port right there near Fairbanks because of that.
Although, actually, if they want to put a container port in Fairbanks, why don't they just put it in Nenana, which is closer to the end of the river, but also has the same infrastructure as Fairbanks?
Yeah,
allowing it to.
That right there,
Why
it
they
counted
put it in
as Fairbanks, you know? That's the area I'm talking about.
Wait, Cook Inlet is from the Gulf of. Wait a minute. The Cook Inlet's is down by Anchorage.
Oh, not Fairbanks, my bad. Oh my god, I got them two mixed up. Oh.
What?
Dude.
I'm confused.
I did got mixed up. That Anchorage, not Fairbanks, my bad.
Yeah, Anchorage is a port city where the Port of Alaska is located.
Yeah, but the Cook Inlet on the other side, and the area that they're talking about near Anchorage is very deep.
Are you talking about Port Mackenzie?
Yes. That area is deep enough where they have oil tankers come in. And I mean the big ones.
Well, I know that there's an oil tanker port at Port Mackenzie. I don't know much about it or how deep it is, but it is located just on the other side of the Port of Anchorage.
Well,
which
Jane is that area deeper than the Port of Anchorage. And back in 2010, they proposed a container ship port right there.
Yeah. I mean, if you could dig out the seafloor enough, you could fit container ships. Well, actually, Anchorage already sees container ships, just not the big ones that cross the ocean.
Now, the area that I'm talking about is deep enough. It's that I did have a scatterbrain because I've got about Anchorage inland, or not inland, but Fairbanks inland and Anchorage near the coast. Them two
Yeah,
cities I
Fairbanks.
get confused with in Alaska.
Yeah, I see that you get confused, and I see that as a big problem. Okay, the deep draft. Okay, I'm looking at Port Mackenzie at the moment, looking at their website, trying to figure out some details. Our barge dock is 500 feet long and has a 20 feet in low tide. Our deep draft dock accommodates Panamax and Cape-class vessels with 60 feet of water at low tide. When compared to the Port Mackenzie rail extension, will create a shortest rail route from the interior of Tidewater, providing timber and mining industries a faster and less expensive method of export. The rail loop will be the longest industrial loop in the state for efficient offloading of the rail cargo ship. At almost 15-acre barge dock, coupled with our expansive upland, make Port Mackenzie ideal for large industrial projects and value-added exports. Port Mackenzie is moving heavy industrial and bulk materials for Alaska and beyond. Barge bulkhead is 14,700 gravel, low capacity. Deep draft dock. This is what I want. The deep draft dock extends 1,200 feet into Cook Inlet to a depth of 60 feet at a mean lower water and can accommodate Panamax and Cape-class vessels. The dock is equipped with free-phase power and 5-foot wide conveyor system capable of loading bulk commodities at 2,000 tons per hour. Okay, so this is a deep report.
Like I said, I called it.
Yeah, but you also called the fact that Fairbanks was on the coast.
Hey, well, I did get Fairbanks and Anchorage mixed up because I need to get back into looking at Google Maps, you know?
Yeah, I've been looking at Google Maps the whole time.
Well, I need to start looking at it again because it's been a while and I'm a little rushy.
Yeah, well,
That,
I unironically go to Google Maps just to get my mind off stuff.
I know.
Or just to have fun.
But here's
Me
the thing.
too. I can relate to that.
Me too. Heck, I used to do that to map out area for model railroads back when I was in high school. Like, I used to go on Google Maps when I was younger and look up industrial railroad sites and see if they could be done in railroad form, like model railroad form. And I found a shitload out there. But, yeah. But my thing is, if they build that railroad to Alaska and they build that port, got to be a big game changer, and that could probably be another thing that stops this shit from happening, you know?
Port already exists, so congratulations.
But yeah, we need to improve our rail system because we're not using it to its full capacity, you know?
Elaborate rail system.
About that.
You mean passenger rail or just rail in general?
Rail in general, you know?
I mean, freight-wise, it could be.
No. There are actually plenty of rail corridors in the United States, especially along the transcons, that are at capacity.
I know I'm not talking about those area. I'm talking about like rebuilding lines that been long abandoned.
Yeah, but you said rail in general.
It both counts, man. Like here, Jane, the Tennessee Pass. We rail banked that thing back in 1996. And that was a rail corridor. We fucked up by abandoning that corridor. And with everything at capacity, that thing right there could help relieve pressure if we rebuilt that.
Tennessee Pass. I don't know where that is. So I'm gonna look.
Colorado. Tennessee Pass in Colorado.
Oh, okay.
It was part of Southern Pacific until Southern Pacific was bought by Union Pacific in 1996. Or technically not 1996, but 1994. And then 2 years later, the Tennessee Pass were rail banked. My thing is with the freight coming up and our thing overflowing with traffic jam and capacity. That's a problem we got to fix before it get even worse. Heck, the Charlton Sub, the track's right by my house. How we only get 20 trains per day, but sometimes we get traffic jams on that track sometimes because of how small the rail yard is in Charleston. The Bailey Yard or Benefit Yard is what it's called. It's not big, and because of that, we get traffic jams from trains sometimes. It's so bad that they have to use another line as a rip track to build the trains on. And that's a problem right there in its own, if you guys know what I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
And that rail yard, like my cousin, he works at it. I'm not giving his name out because I don't want him getting in trouble. He told me that that rail yard is overflowing way over capacity, and because of that, they're getting traffic jams of freight trains. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah. Ooh. Hey, speaking of that here's something most people don't know, but we did have a rail yard here in Ravenel back up until 1982. And it's something I realized long ago, that if that rail yard was still around and they kept the double main track in, you would have been able to take them freight from the rail yard and bring it into the rail yard here in Ravenel and made it a lot easier. Have local trains build their trains out here that are headed down to Savannah. And manifest trains like the big freight train build their trains up there and then come through, you know? That could have worked. But we really lost a lot of rail infrastructure. Heck, even a freaking rail yard in freaking Atlanta, Georgia got removed because of PSR, you know?
Yeah.
And it was a big rail yard. And now it's a double main. Freaking skeleton of its former self. It's up that we need to start looking into, because I don't support PSR because everything is going to get worse before it gets better, you know? And I said it on...
I don't even know if PSR is going to make anything better.
It's not. It's going to get to the point where the TFB is going to try to ban PSR, you know?
TSB?
Or not TFB. The Transportation Board, I meant.
STB, sir.
Yeah. The Transportation Board, if they keep up, I have a feeling the Transportation Board will put a ban on PSR, you know?
Well, good, because PSR is bad for the rail industry.
And what it does, it did cut in corners, you know?
Yes, I know about PSR.
Heck, my cousin, he said that if a train has something broken, they'll keep it going, you know? Heck.
I don't know if that's entirely PSR or if that's just dealing with problems in general, because I think that has been a thing on the railroad since its inception.
Well, it's serious, man, because they literally have that problem. But
also, do you remember talking about the Tennessee Pass and how Union Pacific got rid of it?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm looking at a map of Colorado at the moment, and yes, it looks like they have gotten rid of the route for the Tennessee Pass. However, that route to the Tennessee Pass went from Pueblo, Colorado, and it met up with the existing line northeast of Glenwood Springs. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, how is that going to help capacity, since it's just going to funnel traffic onto an already existing line that's already overcrowded?
Well, train from that already existing line that are going through the Moffat Tunnel, if the Moffat Tunnel is way too backed up, they can send trains down the Tennessee Pass. Like trains that are headed to Texas don't have to keep on taking the Moffat Tunnel. They can actually take the Tennessee Pass and head down that way.
Trains going to Texas take the Moffat Tunnel?
Yes. Like trains that are coming
goes
from
east to
Utah.
west.
No, I'm serious. Like trains that are coming from Utah, coming from Utah.
Oh, from Utah.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. Like train coming from Utah heading to Texas, take the Moffat Tunnel. And that where I shake my head, because I'm just saying, you gotta be fucking serious, because they could be funneled, instead of having all train funnel through the Moffat Tunnel, they should be having the trains that are heading to Texas, headed down through the Tennessee Pass, you know?
Are
Even
those trains going from Texas, or are they going to split up at Denver and go to other places like
no,
Texas?
these are full-on unit trains and manifest trains that have point A to point B, you know?
Yeah, but that point A could be San Francisco, and that point B could be Chicago.
I know. And I'm talking about unit trains too, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah. Oof. Now, I do see if we do get our act that are in time, we might be able to rebuild our track system and bring our country back up to status, you know? Because I do see a rough period for the railroad right now. And I do see trying to get it all better down the line.
Yeah. Personally, I think it's better for the railroads now than it was back in like the 1960s, but
You meant the 70s? Because the 70s was the worst for the railroad.
I don't know. The collapse of Penn Central was quite a shocker.
Yeah, and that was the realization to the government that they fucked up, and their
That was in the 60s.
thing was screwing up the rail system.
Well, it didn't.
The funny thing is, the effects from the Penn Central collapse are not over with yet. The ripples are still happening.
You do realize that New York Central and the Pennsylvania Railroad got together and decided to merge on their own, and the government approved it, right? It wasn't the government just stuck two companies together without their consent.
It would either that or both of them go bankrupt, you know? There a video that actually
it's hard to blame it on the government.
There was a video that actually explained it, like the New York Central actually wanted to merge with the Santa Fe back in the day, but
no, that was just a proposal.
I know, but the TFB,
many other railroads.
Well, not TFB, but the Interstate Commerce denied it. But there is a video that explained this, you know?
Yeah, but they could have also merged with other railroads, like the Pennsylvania could have merged with the Norfolk and Western.
Well, the only reason they did that was because not TFB, but the Interstate Commerce was, shooting them down every chance they get, you know? Because
was it also having to do with some crises going on within upper management at both the New York Central and Pennsylvania railroads?
That too, but if you did think about it.
Yeah, and I do think about it. And I conclude that, while yes, the government has a role to play in the collapse of Penn Central, I also think that it's a much more complicated situation than just simply government fucked up.
True, but they realized it, and when the Penn collapsed, when they realized that the interstate commerce had to been abolished. You know?
No. The Interstate Commerce Commission was abolished in the 90s, and the Penn Central's collapse was in the late 60s. It would take the Interstate Commerce Commission over 20 years before it was abolished.
Well, it was because of it, if you can remember.
No, it was because it became
else.
an outdated government agency, and it was deemed outdated back in the 90s. Keep in mind, the Interstate Commerce Commission would go on to approve other successful mergers like Burlington Northern.
Yeah. The Burlington Northern, the BNSF, or Atlee.
Well, they didn't approve the BNSF. They collapsed before BNSF was approved to merge. But
yeah, that's
yes.
true. But yeah. Whew, it already 12:22 in the morning here.
Yeah.
It's 11:22 here in the Midwest.
Same here. Oh wait, I am in the Midwest too.
To say. But yeah. But I do see that if we work things out, we do have a better chance of having a better rail system in the future if we work things out. It's just that we're right now going through a rough area right now. Or like right now, a dark age, like Demetrius said, you know?
Dark age.
Well, Demetrius said that on his live stream.
Yeah, but Demetrius isn't always factual in things he says. You know that, right?
I know.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really take everything when he says to words. Like I remember when I first learned about this stuff. At first, I took it a little more seriously. But as I learned more about the history of it, it's like, okay, it's not as much. Like I'm not taking like everything as like fact.
Mm-hmm.
But even if Demetrius was correct on what he said, it would be incredibly unwise to just simply get his perspective uncritically just from him and no other source.
I know. That's why I go through multiple research and back stuff up. I look up multiple things, and if more sites and stuff back it up, then that's sometimes the conclusion, you know? I don't believe one side. I gotta go through and look if all the sides are in agreement, or like if half of them are in agreement, then you go with it. But if no one agreed, then you gotta figure out on your own, you know?
Kind of contradicts your statement you told me a while ago, after his live stream, when you said you hear everything that Demetrius say is true. And I'm just like, is it though? I mean, a good amount of it is, but like not everything.
Technically, it is after I did the research, because there are a lot of research that back up what he said. Like,
question: how much of that research was scholarly?
About 5%.
I think that speaks for itself.
And the other one was history facts. Like
But
the rest was
can
history.
be scholarly as well.
That's true, Joe. That would count as solemnary history, you know?
Solemnary?
History.
You mean secondary?
Mm-hmm. But yeah. So, hey guys, do you think they're ever going to get the high-speed rail running in California?
Brightline West or California High Speed Rail?
California high-speed rail.
doubtful.
They're moving along. I don't know. From what I've heard, they've cut the speed back quite a bit, so they might get it running, but it might not be high-speed rail.
Heck, Amtrak might take over it, you know? It would be funny if Amtrak turned it into a corridor and bought it themselves, you know?
That doesn't sound too bad, considering that the San Joaquin has a lot to gain from having a bypass around the Tehachapi Pass.
Exactly. I hate to say it.
Yeah, but I don't understand how that's funny.
It
That actually,
actually a
that
bit
almost sounds like they're playing all along.
like if it is, then someone in there actually played their cards right, you know?
Yeah.
Someone.
And from the way it looks, we might actually see that turn out.
Mm-hmm. Like, I hate to say it, but I think it might be Amtrak plan to bring high-speed rail to California instead, you know? Because if they do that with the San Joaquin, they can have to bring up the speed even higher
It's
there.
pronounced San Joaquin.
I can't say it probably because I got a small jaw, man.
And San Joaquin?
Yes. Like, they can actually bring up the speed on that train. If they do. And heck, if it's going to be electrified, they can actually, you know, work with Caltrans, you know, and, you know, to the phase 2 from the valley into San Francisco. Because if you just think about it, Caltrans is about 70 to 80% done with the electrification on their line, you know?
Wait a minute. I thought phase 2 was between Los Angeles and San Diego.
No. It's the complete opposite. It's from Bakersfield to San Francisco.
I thought that was phase 1.
No, that not. Phase 1 is in the
What is
valley.
phase 1?
Phase 1 is in the valley from Bakersfield to some of the smaller city in the valley.
But
Phase 2 is from
Wait,
Bakersfield
what?
to San Francisco.
dude, I think you need to look at a map again
Or not.
because
Or not
Bakersfield is in the southern part of the
Or not
Central
Baker-
Valley, and
Oh.
the cities that go and the cities that are being connected to Bakersfield are all north on their way to San Francisco in the Bay Area.
Dude, I'm brain farting today.
Well, it is 12:30 in the morning your time.
Yeah. I'm probably going to need to get some sleep too, but phase 2 is to San Francisco, not Los Angeles. That for sure.
Phase 1 is from San Francisco to Anaheim, and Phase 2 is from Los Angeles to San Diego, along with from Merced to Sacramento.
Mm-hmm. But they started in the valley, you know?
Yes.
So if you did think
Phase
about
1
it,
started in the valley.
so if I'm right, that would be phase 0 right there if you think about it. And phase 1 would be from them headed to San Francisco because they already got.
No.
I don't think phase 0 exists.
There is no Phase 0.
Okay, then.
Everything, the entire line from San Francisco to Anaheim is Phase 1.
Mhm.
All of it.
Then what about the high-speed rail track that it going to Bakersfield? Like they're already building that area.
Phase 1. That's part of Phase 1.
Mm. Because
Like I said, it's unless you're talking about the Los Angeles to San Diego and the Merced to Sacramento lines, it's all Phase 1.
But I'll be honest, what one do you think will get high-speed rail first in California? Would it be Express West, aka Brightline, or the California High-Speed Rail 40?
I'm willing to bet on Express West to be be
I-
honest.
I'm going to
I
have
know
to.
it sounds kind of risky considering how California High Speed Rail has the infrastructure advantage, but then again, they are kind of slow.
Mhm.
The thing that, all right, I'm gonna bet on Brightline, and that's because California High Speed Rail has to network with all kinds of different agencies,
Yeah, I would have to.
various transit agencies in other parts of California, and coordinating that is going to be much more difficult than simply building a line from scratch, where you don't have to deal with other agencies.
Yeah, I have
So
to-
I'm gonna have to say Brightline West.
Yeah, I have to agree with that because I had said because it took. This project been going on since 2008. You know?
Yeah, it's also a much more complicated project. That's like, and plus it doesn't help that the management wasn't that great until 2018, so that kind of messed things up.
Yeah. But I had said I think the thing that will be the saving great into for California High Speed Rail is Caltrans, you know? I think that might
Caltrans is just simply California's Department of Transportation. You know that, right?
I know, but the thing about it, the
It's not the
electrification
same thing as Caltrains.
I know, but if you did think about it, the electrification that they're doing on the bay, you know, on the peninsula.
Yeah, that's Caltrains.
I know that right there could be the saving grace for California High Speed Rail. You know.
Well, it's the only way California High Speed Rail is going to get into San Francisco. There's no way they're going to build a new alignment from scratch.
I know, and I know when they get all Caltrans or Caltrain track it, they're going to have to share it with a freight railroad, you know, for a bit.
Wait, are they?
Yeah, because if you guys don't pay attention where Caltrain terminates at, I'm not talking about where the line in San Francisco. I'm talking about when it gets to the main area. That area connect to Union Pacific and BNSF.
Oh, okay. But I don't think is the high-speed rail alignment going to use that track, because all they need to do is get to San Jose and then run on the Caltrain route to San Francisco.
Yeah, but
I don't understand why they need to go all the way to Gilroy.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they've got a tunnel down there. I don't know.
I have to agree, but like I did found an old track bed, an old abandoned one that have not been used since the 70s. That could work, you know? It could be a bypass, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
But Amtrak do own some track right there in the bay, if you remember.
Do they own trackage in the bay, or do they just run in the bay?
Well, Amtrak run about 40 passenger trains per day in that area.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they own it. Like, there are corridors that they run on that are either owned by the state or even other freight railroads that have those kinds of frequencies.
True. But yeah. Now,
that doesn't mean they own it.
Now, guys, I'll bring it up. What do you guys think with Via Rail in Canada right now?
Give me a brief on what's going on in Canada.
Well, Via Rail again into new AC Sprinter locomotives like Brightline have.
They're Chargers.
I meant Charger. My bad. Chargers.
Yeah, Brightline has the Siemens Chargers, and the locomotives V is getting are also Siemens Chargers. None of them are Sprinters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if you think about it, some of the Via Rail sets are some of that Brightline is using, you know?
Is it?
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting seeing some new stuff. Heck, even Go Transit expanding out, you know?
Okay.
Like
Go Transit is not the same thing as Via Rail.
I know, but if you think about it, rail systems are expanding now again, you know?
They've been expanding for a while. I don't understand what this has to do with Via Rail.
Because Via Rail, with Via Rail, they're talking about one of their corridor, running passenger service again.
Oh, which corridor?
Can't remember. I forgot what corridor it was. Damn it.
Where does it run between?
It was in that area between Detroit and Vancouver.
Detroit and Vancouver.
Yeah.
You mean Detroit and Ontario?
Yes.
Not Ontario, Toronto.
Yeah.
Okay. Vancouver is on the west coast, on the Pacific Ocean.
Or not Vancouver,
Detroit,
my bad. Not Vancouver. It's the capital of Canada. The thing that is right there along the Great Lakes.
Ottawa isn't on the Great Lakes.
Yeah, it's further inland.
Not Ottawa. It's the biggest city in Canada.
Toronto, you mean?
Yeah, Toronto.
Toronto is not the capital. Ottawa is.
Oh, it is? I thought Toronto.
Yes. Toronto is the capital of Ontario. Ottawa is the capital of Canada.
I feel so fucking dumb right now. I never knew that.
Look at maps.
The more you know.
Dude, the only thing I look at map for model railroad and when I was younger.
That's your problem. You don't look at maps enough. You gotta be like me, who looks at maps every day to relieve stress.
Dude, I used to do that every day in high school and when I got home.
Well, you need to start doing it again.
Good point.
Have your usual Google Earth observation code sessions.
Yeah, good point. But yeah.
So, corridor between Toronto and Detroit. Are gonna upgrade it or
Upgraded.
for
Higher
more trains, faster speeds?
Yes. Because that area is growing phenomenally too,
Yeah, but I think Via Rail's bigger point of interest is the corridor between Toronto and Montreal.
That too.
Because Toronto's, I know, is growing pretty big, and there is quite a bit of demand in between Toronto and Montreal. Like, you can also connect to Ottawa. You can connect. Well, actually, I don't know if they're going to connect Kingsport. They plan to create a brand new alignment, or at least resurrect an old one that is currently out of service between Toronto and Ottawa,
Yes.
so that they can run faster speeds and also avoid Canadian Pacific trains. Or is it Canadian National? It's
Canadian
National.
A Canadian National.
I think it's Canadian National because most of the tracks Via runs on are Canadian National tracks.
Yeah, a Canadian
They do have some lines
National
that run on
because
Canadian Pacific tracks, but it's mostly a Canadian National railroad.
well, CP is one that they have hard times with because that's the reason why you see them using more CN than CP.
Yeah, I find that weird how CP seems pretty cool with Amtrak, but they are horrible to Via Rail, while CN is the opposite, where they have all of Via Rail's trackage, but they're not that good to Amtrak.
that right there is kind of funny. Like,
I don't know why they do it, though. I'm just more confused than
well,
confused.
that thing that I'm trying to figure out.
Is there anything to do with the history between the two?
Probably so. I think because CP and McCord with Amtrak, I think CN don't like that, so they probably take it out on them, and then vice
That's
versa.
typically not how companies work. Companies are not irrational human beings. It's not like they can take their anger out on a totally unrelated entity.
True.
Humans might do that, but not companies.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is true. But yeah. But they are planning more Amtrak service, that for sure.
Okay, yeah, I've seen the Amtrak Connectus plan, but
Mm.
those are just plans. I don't know how many of them are actually going to come to fruition.
Well, the plan that I do definitely see might be happening is the one from, Charlotte to Asheville, that I do see happening.
Charlotte to Asheville, is that the one that goes further inland to North Carolina? Oh yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm. Reason why I say that one have a high chance of happening is because of tourism. And because it goes through a very beautiful area.
Okay. When I think of corridors that Amtrak has that is interested in creating new ones, I always think of like corridors between major cities that don't have Amtrak service anymore, like connecting the Heartland Flyer to Newton, Kansas, where it meets up with the Southwest Chief,
Mm-hmm.
or what's another corridor?
Duluth
Like
to
Duluth.
St. Paul, Minneapolis.
yeah, that one too. But I'm also thinking about like connecting Cincinnati to Columbus and then on to Cleveland. I think that's a corridor that would be good for Amtrak and the state of Ohio. And yes, there's also a proposal to connect Milwaukee to Green Bay via Amtrak, which I think is good, but it's going to be on CN trackage, so make of that what you will.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that. I'll be honest. I don't think the CN's ain't going to happen. Because CN is probably going to say nope.
Maybe. Well, Amtrak runs on CN tracks already.
Mm-hmm.
So
I know. Now, here, funny thing. I do see them probably getting the old Fort Loop to head to Asheville because Norfolk Southern only run 2 trains on it now. What the thing is, they only run 2 trains. So I'm definitely bet your ass that because the infrastructure is still up to date, and they have PCC already on that line. All they have to do,
PTC?
yeah, they already have it on that line. So all they need to do is build the Amtrak date, and then they'll have a line fully set and running already.
Will it have the capacity to have Amtrak trains?
Yes, it will.
Okay, good. Because
So,
I don't know if that capacity exists already.
It already does. Like here, Jane, this line was built to hold 3-mile-long freight trains.
Yeah, but that doesn't always mean that the capacity is there. For all we know, it could be just a bunch of sidings.
Well, the bunch of rail, they have 8 sidings that are almost 10 miles long.
Okay.
Well, and the line is pretty good. So
it makes me wonder how often Amtrak is going to have to sit in the sidings.
Not long because there are only 2 freight trains that run that line, and both of them are locals. So I do see one of Amtrak first route that they can actually get out of the way in the Amtrak Connect Up plan. So this one, I do see them, if they do follow through on this one, it'll be the fastest one that they can get done first. Because let's face it, there are people who live in the city of Charlotte who want to go out into the mountain to Asheville to relax, and vice versa, Like,
Okay.
I I actually talked to someone while at work at Walmart about a week ago who from Asheville, and they said that a lot of the people there have been begging to have passenger service from Charlotte to Asheville. You know, they've been
Nashville, you mean?
Doodle.
they've been begging for years.
He said Asheville. That
Oh, I
evidence
thought you
is
meant Nashville.
that evidence is anecdotal, but I'm gonna assume it's true.
Hey, well, coming from someone that I talked to who live up in Asheville, I'm
Yeah, but
friends
it's
with
still
him on
anecdotal.
Facebook. You know,
More like Doodle.
well, they do already got a passenger station, and all they didn't need to do is renovate that. You know,
Like an old depot, or
yeah, they have one that they can renovate. And if they renovate that, they are all set to go, you know?
does it have a platform?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Because not all depots have their platforms. So,
Well, I'll be honest, if Amtrak wanted to get their first plan out of the way, it would be the best place to begin, you know?
really? Because I always thought that the most important places for Amtrak to focus on would be along the Northeast Corridor, like with the gateway access tunnels that are
Can
probably
I
the
be-
most important infrastructure project
I'll
in
be
the
honest,
country.
I will think it will come down to a big accident to get that done, you know? It going
Let's hope not, because 20% of our country's GDP relies on those tunnels.
I know, but they're going to use them until something go wrong. I hate to say it.
Well, they bet. I hope they upgrade it. I don't want to see things go wrong. Or at least nothing catastrophic like that.
Well, you guys have seen how our interstate and some of our buildings have been doing, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that bridge that almost collapsed back during the summer because some idiot did not spotted a bad bridge beam. Let's not forget about that incident that happened in the Midwest.
Are you talking about the I-35 bridge collapse?
Not that. That was long ago. I'm talking about like there was another bridge that almost collapsed this year, but someone spotted it in the nick of time, and they shut the bridge down.
Where?
It's somewhere between Tennessee and it's somewhere in the Badlands or the Plains. You know,
That's
Wait,
quite a...
Tennessee.
it along the Mississippi River.
Okay. I think it was either in Mississippi or Tennessee. There was a bridge that was shut down for that reason.
Yeah, it was
And
Tennessee.
Good. Good, because that's how you prevent disaster.
Yeah, so and that
It seems like we can stop a problem before a catastrophe happens.
yeah. Well, they said if they did not shut that down, it would have been only a matter of probably about a few weeks before it collapsed.
Yeah.
So that was a close one.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Those bridges inspections are not nearly as frequent as the regular inspections on the Northeast Corridor tunnels. Amtrak keeps watch over them because they know how dangerous it can be for those tunnels to fail. So there are regular inspections every night and throughout the day to make sure that they stay open and running.
Well, let's not forget about what happened when that hurricane came through and shut them tunnels down.
Sandy, I haven't forgotten. And quite a bit of the damage caused to those tunnels were from Sandy. I am aware. But still, the inspections are still going on. And if they detect something that could be catastrophic in a short amount of time, they will shut those tunnels down, even at the cost of the economy. But at least it won't cost lives.
I know, and Jane is that a bottleneck.
Yeah, but you were saying that it was going to be an accident before something happened. And I'm trying to tell you that's not entirely true.
I know, but Let not forget about that building collapse in Florida. You remember
I
that?
did not forget.
Alright. But yeah. But I'm probably getting ready to go to bed. You guys are probably getting ready to go to bed.
Definitely.
I know we're all tired, but it was a big debate video. Now, I hope everybody enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, share the video, get the word out, and we'll talk to you guys later. Is there anything you
Yes.
guys want to say? Chicago Rail fan, is there something you want to say before we sign out?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't have anything to say tonight. Just not feeling it.
Okay, you're not feeling sus enough. But yeah. Until next time, me and the guide will talk to you guys later, and possibly we might find some more stuff to talk about. But until next time, to have a David Mitchell, and I am signing out. And good night. We're out with good morning because it is about to be 1 in the morning.
Oh yeah, I guess I can't hear you now. But I will
Can't
say,
hear me.